Welcome back, everybody. He is an Emmy Award-winning actor you know from Key and Peele and Friends from college. He now hosts the CBS game show Game On. Please welcome back to A Late Show, Keegan-Michael Key. Keegan, thanks for being here.
Hi, Steven. How are you, buddy?
I'm doing all right. Now, let's just lay our cards on the table. You and I already did this interview.
Yes, we did. We did.
2 weeks ago today, okay? And it was a
Right.
lovely interview.
It was.
It was crisp storytelling. There were levels, but
Layers.
a lot has happened in the last 2 weeks, and
Yes.
we both agreed that maybe it'd be more appropriate if we just did it again. So thanks so much for being here.
Thank you, buddy. I completely agree. I think it makes this was the best decision. Yes, absolutely.
Well, a week ago, a little bit more than a week ago, George Floyd was killed
Right.
in Minneapolis.
Right.
And I don't know if you've watched the entire thing, but if you have watched it or any part of it, what is your and what was your and what is your ongoing reaction to what you saw?
I would say I think like many people, frustration, and sadness and anger. But another interesting feeling that that's come across me is exhaustion. That I'm feeling a lot of exhaustion, mostly because we're dealing with a systemic issue here. And when I see that that was something that was filmed, what comes to mind is how many of these incidents do we not even know about that happen every day where there are no eyewitnesses or people aren't videotaping it. And so it brings up the question over and over again, what do we really do? Like, how can we really stop this? Because it's exhausting. It's exhausting.
Well, what do you make of what we're seeing now?
Well,
The reaction to it in all its different forms.
I think that now I think it's interesting that we're seeing a double phenomenon right now. That's what we're seeing these peaceful protests, and we're seeing people assemble. They have the right to assemble. And then we're seeing this other issue of people looting, this looting being mixed into the situation. And I think what's happening, really, what I make of it is that people are responding to a lot of issues right now, issues that have been simmering under the surface. And issues like the wage gap, the fact that there's this huge gap between the rich and the poor in our country, and the haves and the have-nots. And I think that something that stems from is that I heard Trevor Noah say the other day that when you live in a society, there's a contract, like an unspoken contract that everyone is living under, or supposedly so. That we all say, and in this country, the contract is called the American dream, and that we're all supposed to be equal, and we're all supposed to have the opportunity and the right to pursue life, liberty, and happiness. And there's a section of our population who's being told, "Oh no, I'm sorry, that dream doesn't apply to you. Does not apply to you." So there are people who live in you live in a community. The contract is that police are supposed to serve and protect, and that isn't happening. Doesn't apply to you. So all of that frustration, I think, is bubbling over right now, and the manifestation of that frustration is the looting.
The looting has to be separated from the protesting at the same time.
100%.
Because the protesting is seeking justice.
100%. Yeah, there should definitely be a bifurcation that there are a small amount of people that are actors out there who are acting in what I think is not the most helpful way, and they should definitely be separated from the people who are letting their voices be heard and empowering themselves in a truly American way, in a very intrinsically American way. And that is encouraging in a way to see, and also to see people, especially a lot of young people, saying, I can enact my rights as a person who's allowed to speak up in a nation where we're allowed to speak up. So yeah, I definitely want to make sure there is a clear delineation between these two groups of people.
Now, how has your experience been on America's racial divide now that you're famous? Because
yes,
you are not an anonymous African American man. You're Keegan-Michael Key.
Yeah, it's interesting. When I think of that question, it reminds me of a time not too long ago where I was driving a friend home, someplace in Los Angeles, and I was driving them home, and we were parked outside of their house having a conversation, and a police car came down the street and went past us, and I saw the driver look out of the window at the car, and then drove past us, and whoop, 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 and they turned around and they pulled up next to the car in the street. And then I felt something I have felt a couple times in my life, which, my heart rate started to race a little bit. And then the police officer gets out of the car and he comes over to my vehicle and he's like, "Hey, you're the guy." And I was like, yes, I am the guy. And it was one of those experiences where I go, now, why is that his response to seeing me? Why is that his response? What is it about being a person who's known? And what came to me was, I don't know if you're familiar with the Nigerian author Chimamanda Adichie.
I am sad to say I am not.
You're not. Okay, so she's a really brilliant author, and she did a TED Talk called "The Dangers of the Single Story," and she talks about people having a story that can encompass an entire theme or encompass an entire thing. So a story about literature or a story about the entire continent of Africa. But what happens is when you have an individual story about a person, I think it allows you to see them as human. And I think by being a person who's famous, when you watch a person in a movie or on a television show, you see them in a story. You feel like they're struggling against things that you've struggled against. So you see them as a person. And I think that is an aspect of celebrity, is that the police officer sees you as a person, whether you're Black or Hispanic or white. They see you as a person. And especially if your work has moved them in some way. And it's completely different than it was when I was younger. And what's so interesting is the skin color goes away because they're only seeing a human story. But there's some guilt that goes with that because, things are different for me. I'm the same guy. I'm the same guy today that I was in 2004, that I was in 1998. So, that's been my experience. There's this stark contrast from the way we are treated and the way somebody whose story you don't know is treated.
Keegan, we have to take a quick break, but folks, stick around. We'll be right back with more Keegan-Michael Key.